Well, good afternoon. Today is the 5th of February and I've just been to buy some essential things from the supermarket because that's one of the most thrilling things that happens in lockdown. I thought I might be driving my mother's Mercedes today because she prefers me to take her to and from hospital in that, and she had a hospital appointment today, but when I arrived at her house the car was blocked in, so I haven't taken it today. Maybe another time we'll be able to do that on these very vague vlogs. And of course they're rambling, not very specific and not very interesting, but you know, in the current conditions it's one of the forms of content that I can put out without too much difficulty, and so that's what we're doing. Today's subject is engine coolant, and of course, as most of you know, that River 45 V6 that we have is drinking a lot of it at the moment because it's awaiting a new thermostat housing, and that's probably not going to be arriving until next month. So if you want to use it, then that's what we have to keep doing. Well, it looks really strange the way that I'm driving, but this is the only way to get out of the car park at this Tesco to the north of Winchester. What we're going to do is we're going to go through the city centre to get to where I'm going, which will be a little bit more interesting for you to see just driving on the motorway. So now we're free of there. I went today to buy some coolant because the revenue did a little bit more. It's not a huge amount it's using. It's perhaps about a litre every couple of weeks if, you know, we use the car, you know, once, twice a week. It's not sort of huge amounts of money. There we go, just let somebody on a bicycle without killing them. It's always an advantage not to kill cyclists. So it's using a bit of coolant, and I went to a supermarket to buy the standard stuff I normally do, which is sort of universal coolant. It doesn't matter if you've got the green type of coolant or the blue type of coolant or the red type of coolant. Those are generally the three types. I know the red one is generally OAT. The other two types, the bright green stuff and the blue stuff, I always forget the names of them, and apologise that, you know, it's not really accurate enough for some of you. You want to know the names, but I just don't know them, unfortunately. But the universal stuff I normally use is clear. I think it's supplied by a company called Blue Coal, who've been, gosh, making antifreeze for who knows how long, just forever really. So I normally go and buy the Blue Coal stuff. It costs £6. There's also another type that other supermarkets sell that's made by, I think it's called Petone or Pentone. It's the brand name of it. So it's £6 for a litre. It's probably the same stuff really. I do apologise not to every cyclist. I've got no sight lines to actually be able to pass them, and they did come straight out in front of me when I was at the junction just then, although you didn't actually see that, so never mind. I'm not in a hurry today really. So normally I just use the universal stuff. It's, you know, you can use it, you know, whatever type of cooling your car takes. You don't have to know what type it is. And I've been doing that for a while because, you know, the Rover's had all these coolant issues, and so that's what I've been doing. But today I decided to actually buy the proper type of coolant. I thought it would actually be cheaper to buy the pre-mixed stuff, OAT coolant, which is sort of red. And I went there, and there were two types of OAT I could buy. Sort of generic stuff at the well-known automotive supply chain that most of us use, which is a name that I will not give. And there was some more expensive stuff, but I don't really need to buy really expensive coolant for it. It's not going to be worth it. So I went in there and saw it, and it turned out that the stuff that I bought, the OAT stuff, is actually £12.50 for 2 litres. So it's more expensive to buy the correct specification of coolant. Not that you can't use the clear stuff, of course, but if you want to have the colour in there to be able to see if it's leaking anywhere, which is why it's got colour in it. Why it's more expensive than the generic stuff, I really don't know. It's a bit of a mystery. So I've bought both of them. I'm just going to see, what kind of difference, if anything, it makes to the colour in the coolant reservoir. Oh my gosh, this cyclist is just turning into a complete menace. It's crazy. He's be going the same way that I am. So yes, we'll see if it actually makes a difference to the colour of the coolant reservoir. I'm going to put some of the OAT stuff in because I've used a fair bit of the clear stuff, the universal stuff. So we'll put some of the OAT stuff in and see if it stores a bit of colour to it. As I said, it's not a particularly fast leak, and it's over time. It's not really dependent on how much you use the car unless you're really using it every day. Because when it leaks out, actually when the engine's cold, it's when the engine cools down is when it comes out, not when the engine's hot, which I have been struggling to get my head around. I don't really understand why that would be the case, but it is. Yeah, this is St George's Street in the centre of Winchester. This one-way system, when we're not in pandemic conditions, is far busier than this. So yes, I suppose I'll use the OAT stuff first because I can use a little bit of the clear stuff from Sanyon that has the blue type of coolant rather than the OAT red stuff. So you can obviously use that in whichever one you want to. The car that I remember most having the bright green coolant is a K11 Nissan Micra for some reason. I remember having bright green stuff. So yes, here we are right in the middle of Winchester. This is Jury Street. As you can see, there's not a lot of traffic around here today. There's not a lot of people really here. It's not really the most exciting kind of place to be, but it's better to show you something whilst I have the opportunity, rather than just driving up and down the motorway every single time we do one of these vlogs. So yes, I did first shift for Amazon Flex the other day with one of my friends who already is an Amazon Flex driver. It's the kind of lowest level of driving for a company like that. You use your own car, and you just literally follow an app which tells you what to do. You are allowed to have a passenger with you, which is what I was doing. I wasn't actually driving because you have to have special insurance to be effectively a courier. You have to have special insurance, so you have to make sure that you get that yourself. So I couldn't actually drive, so I was just sort of helping out. And it's one of these things, you sort of balance. But loads of people are doing it. There were very sort of varied selection of vehicles actually doing it. One of them was a 69 plate ST line Ford Puma in that kind of Nardo grey colour. And I was thinking that car costs £25,000 or more, and yet it's being used on an Amazon Flex route right the way through to my friend's car, which is a little modest Polo. Just sort of shows to me that I think some of these people who are doing Amazon Flex are definitely not doing it as their only job, and I think a lot of them, they're doing it maybe whilst on furlough, or wondering what's going to happen next because they have actually perhaps lost their jobs and stuff. So it's just an interesting times that we live in, and to be sort of seeing the range of people who actually do that. It is fascinating kind of going to these people's houses or whatever. The shift I did was in the evening, and we actually ended up in the countryside visiting a wedding venue. It was had a drive about a mile long, and trying to find where the flat for the caretaker was when we delivered the parcel, which was entertaining. There were obviously some of these places which weren't like that. They were just normal kind of housing estates and things. But that's one of the advantages of getting to do something like that. And of course, it gets you out. You know, whatever you do the shift, afternoon or evening, over times that they offer the shift, rather than just sitting at home, which is what you know, some of us who aren't, you know, helping to, you know, directly save lives and, you know, deliver essential supplies and things like that. But you know, the rest of us are maybe sitting around a lot at the moment and wondering what we're going to be doing. So it's just a fascinating thing to observe, really. So yes, I don't know how many more shifts I'll be doing. I'm still waiting for my own application to come through. People are self-employed, and there's no guarantee you'll get shifts in a given week or anything like that. So yeah, they've obviously oversubscribed at the moment, because otherwise they would have said, you know, you can go to the next stage and everything. But there we go. I suppose that's all I have to say for today. Again, I apologise, it's not particularly interesting, but there we go. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for, you know, hopefully more interesting stuff in the future. If you understand why we can't do as much as we're able to do, I'm sure all of you. Social media links are down below, and tomorrow, which you probably would have already seen, we are still doing these live streams, and I do hope that you are enjoying them. It just looks like you are. Thank you ever so much indeed once again.